Podcast Answer Man, episode number 365.
Entertaining, educational, and encouraging content that makes a difference.
This is GSPN.TV.
Join the community.
This is Dan Andrews from the Lifestyle Business Podcast. You're listening to the hardest working man on iTunes. It's Cliff Ravenscraft, and he is the Podcast Answer Man.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Podcast Answer Man. My name is Cliff Ravenscraft, and this, my friends, is the podcast devoted to taking your message, your business, and your life to the next level. That's right, it does not matter if you're brand new to this online content creating world we live in, or if you have been doing this stuff for many years. There's something we can all do to take everything we do in life to the next level. That's right, my friends, and I am all about taking things to the next level, and today I'm going to share with you how I am once again even further taking my video live streaming to the next level and video in general to the next level. And I am going to explain to you some of the things that I have done as a result of having some technical difficulties in last week's video recording of Podcast Answer Man, or at least the video recording of the live stream. I'm going to give you my thoughts on video in general. What do I think about live streaming your podcast? What do I think about video overall as content for folks to consume? I may even give my thoughts on Michael Hyatt's most recent production of his new version of his podcast. I struggle to do that because I wonder if I can be completely 100% objective, knowing that Michael is a very close personal friend of mine, and also knowing that I'm speaking at this conference in November and all of those things. But I will share my thoughts on that, and possibly my prediction of what I think could be a potential issue moving forward. Anyway, we'll see if how free I feel, and the more free I feel, I might actually be concerned with publishing this episode, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to talk about live video streaming. I'm going to talk about video podcasts. I'm going to talk about video content in general. Also in this episode, Stephanie has a question about how do I grow my mailing list with my podcast. She is extremely frustrated with how slow it's going. And we'll get into that. Talk about my top 3 ways for growing your mailing list. Ryan Gray called in and says that he's been tinkering around with the idea of maybe changing up his episode titles for his podcast to see kind of how that might affect how well his podcast gets received in iTunes as far as people searching for specific topics. We'll talk a little bit about that because I've already kind of talked about this stuff recently quite a bit. But anyway, I'll still cover it. Ryan also has a question. Ryan Parker, what gear would I personally take to a conference with me? I will give you my answer to that. And then Michael Bone has called in and he says, listen, I need a portable mobile equipment set up on a low budget. He's recorded his first 100 episodes of his podcast on a BlackBerry. Before I get started with the first topic, though, I do want to let you know that my thoughts on live streaming and video in general does not start until about 34 minutes into this episode. And also, the actual questions, Stephanie's, the Ryan Gray, Ryan Parker, and Michael Bones, all their questions all start at 59 minutes and 51 seconds into the episode. Let's go ahead and start talking about my live streaming, though. The video that I'm putting out on Ustream, where I'm broadcasting live, I've been recording those and publishing them to my YouTube channel. And as a result of that, I've been seeing a little bit of, an uptick in people who actually enjoy consuming that video content of just the over-the-shoulder shot of me in the studio doing my thing. And 2 weeks ago, I did it was pretty well. It went pretty well. The most I could do was 480p. I couldn't broadcast in high def because Ustream did not allow me to do that. I mentioned last week at the end of the episode that I had, upgraded to the latest version, And I had at the same time tried to do 720p, forgetting that I could have done 480p, not quite high def video for free. And I went ahead and paid the $199 to upgrade the software. And, I just needed to get it online. And I thought that that's why it wouldn't allow me to do anything without a watermark. In a way, I'm glad I made that mistake. I'm glad because I've spent the $199 now, and now I am actually broadcasting at 720p. But I was trying to broadcast at 720p last week, and I did. But if you go to podcastanswerman.com/364, go to podcastanswerman.com/364. That's the show notes for last week's episode. If you scroll down into the show notes, you will see the embedded YouTube video of last week's episode. And you might recall that during the episode last week, I was looking at the chat room and people were talking about how choppy the video was. It was stuttering. And what I learned after the fact was that the video was choppy because my iMac that I was using, my 27-inch iMac, which is a Core 2 Duo, it actually was running at 100% of the CPU, just trying to keep up with, the processing, the rendering, the encoding of that 720p HD video stream. Now, I thought maybe it was just bandwidth issues or something like that, which made no sense at all because I shouldn't have any bandwidth issues. I got massive pipes going up. I have a maximum of 10 megabits per second upload, and I don't even touch that. I mean, right now I am broadcasting 720p, and I am currently using 2,680 bits per second. So I'm doing, I'm less than 3 megabits per second upload. So I know that it wasn't a bandwidth issue, but it turned out that it was the CPU. Now, not only was the live stream choppy, but also I found that the recording of the video was choppy. So it was anything that Ustream Producer last week was doing was choppy. So even the video recording that I got and I then uploaded to YouTube, it was choppy as well. I went ahead, because it was choppy, instead of uploading the video, I actually brought it into ScreenFlow and overlaid a message on top that says, "Let me explain to you what's going on with this choppy video," so that people didn't come to my YouTube channel and assume that I put out crap content. I just listen, I know that this doesn't look the best, and here's why it should be fixed by next week. Well, I went to work over the last 7 days and trying to figure out what was causing that to happen. Turns out that the Ustream Producer software has some guidelines, and it talks about what the requirements are. And they said you could probably get by with a Core 2 Duo system, but they recommend that you have in an iMac language. We're in the Mac world over here in the Next Level Studios. And anyway, they recommend that you have an i5 processor if you're going to do 720p video with Ustream Producer, or if you're going to try to do 1080 video, then you want to have an i7 quad-core system. And the thing is my old 27-inch iMac, it just couldn't handle 720p video without being choppy. Even if that Ustream Producer was the only software operating, it just wasn't going to happen. So what did I do? I immediately thought, okay, maybe I'll go out and get a new Mac Mini. Well, I decided to opt out for that because I know that the Mac Mini's been out, the one that's out there now has been out there for the longest time. I want to wait until they come out with a brand new Mac Mini, and I probably will buy a brand new Mac Mini just for my live streams on Thursday, devoted only to the purpose of making my live streams a reality. So I went in, and my new 27-inch iMac that I'm using right now, I'm looking at is a 3.4 gigahertz Intel Core i7 computer. So my current computer could do this sufficiently, but I already use my main computer for so many things. I'm already using it for audio clips. I'm using it for monitoring the chat room, monitoring the live stream. I'm using it to sometimes look things up on the web while I'm recording. I'm using it for my show notes. I'm using it for all kinds of other things. And to be honest with you, I just did not want to use this computer for my live stream. So I have a MacBook Pro. Now, it just so happens that my MacBook Pro 15 inches, by the way, it's a non-Retina. It's one of the big heavy ones. But it is relatively new, though. It's only about a year, maybe just over a year old, maybe not even quite a year old. But it's a MacBook Pro 15-inch, and it is a Core i7. So I'm like, hey, maybe I can try that. And what happened was I just plugged in my Logitech USB camera, and I'm like, okay, let's see if I can get this to work. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some of the troubles that I had trying to get all of this stuff up and running. So what happened was, first and foremost, because it's a MacBook Pro, it has what they call a combination jack. A combination jack, matter of fact, if you look, the 1/8-inch port for the audio on your MacBook, more than likely, if you have a MacBook, you only have one port. And mine actually has a headphones logo on it, which is to indicate that this is really where your headphones go. But it does actually do more than just headphones. If you were to take the iPhone earbuds that you have or earpods that you have, that has the multiple rings, tip, ring, sleeve on it. If you were to take it's got the microphone inline. How's that? If you were to take your earbuds from your iPhone and plug it into your computer, you would actually see that it actually allows you to bring audio out, two channels of audio out for your headphones, and it also would bring in the microphone from your microphone that's in your earbuds. So it does have it is a combination jack, even though it's not labeled that on the outside of the computer. So anyway, I'm like, you know what? I have all kinds of adapters. I have the 4-pin adapters to the ones that are specifically made to break that out into the microphone and headphones. And I thought maybe I can bring that from the audio from my computer setup, my studio setup for my mixer that's going into headphone amps, into my computer, no problem at all. But for whatever reason, it was just not recognizing it. And I didn't want to play around with it forever. So I'm like, okay, I've seen this problem a million times. Every time I have a student that has this issue, I just tell them to get a Griffin iMic. Well, I happen to have an extra one sitting here in my studio, so I popped one out, put it in my computer's USB drive, and I was having the hardest time imaginable trying to get my USB camera to pull up inside a Ustream and tell it at the same time to use the Griffin. Actually, the Griffin iMic wouldn't even pull up. It didn't even show it as an option. And then my friend Daniel Lewis, some of you know him and probably listen to his podcast over at the Audacity to Podcast. He's a good friend of mine, and he lives down the road, and he stopped by to visit the Next Level studio here the other day. And we were talking, and he says, oh, yeah, I had that problem. He said, you can actually go into the Audio MIDI setup app inside of the Utilities folder, and you can actually add what's called an aggregate audio device. And then if you just choose the input from the iMic, it should work no problem at all. And he was right. So I went in, and I finally was able to get the iMic to show up. And I could pull audio from the iMic separately, but I couldn't get it to actually pull up inside of my thing. Well, this was actually my fault for not understanding how the setup works inside of Ustream Producer. This software, it basically, you choose a video source, and if the audio and the video are the same, you can mix and match things. It's too complicated for me to go in audio. And to be honest with you, I know some of you are like, man, I really wish you would do a video tutorial on that. It's so new to me that I wouldn't want to create a video tutorial until I really had this perfectly easy to, step-by-step solution that would work for everyone. And to be honest with you, it's overly complicated for what it needs to be. But I finally figured it out. And what happens is I actually have to put the audio track on an upper layer, like layer 1 or 2. And then I put the video track on, actually, I guess I could put the layer on any track. But anyway, it has to be on it has to be at a different layer. and from the video track. And I finally was able to get my video from my Logitech camera and the Griffin USB iMic to work together. And I got that working yesterday or 2 days ago. But here's the deal. I knew that I wanted to take my video streaming to the next level. So and by the way, I was able to do it, and I was able to do it without the choppy video at 720p. Things were working great. However, I knew that I wanted to take things to the next level. And one of the things that I've always dreamed of was broadcasting an HD stream using my super wonderful, very high quality HD video camera, which I have the Canon Vixia HFG10. That's Henry Frank George 10 HFG10. Anyway, that the Canon, and by the way, that's an older camera. There's like the G20, I think, that's still available today. But the HFG20 I think is available today, but the HFG10 is discontinued. They've replaced it with newer models since I've purchased this one. But it's a great camera. But I always wanted to be able to bring that live video feed into my system. So how am I going to do this? And of course, I've always heard about all these different devices that would allow you to do this, and I never really went around to buy one. And let me see if I can go. I'm going to go to BH Photo Video. By the way, if you go to gspn.tv/BH, that's my affiliate link for B&H Photo. Anything you purchase within 24 hours of using that link, I would get a commission for. But anyway, go to gspn.tv/BH. And in the search box, all you do is type in intensity extreme. All right. So, and then it'll pull up the Blackmagic Design Intensity Extreme. And I had heard a lot about this and some other potential devices, but it's really the Blackmagic Design Intensity Extreme HDMI audio and video capture device. It's $284.05 as I'm looking at it on their page right now. They had free expedited shipping, and then I think I paid $22 to have it shipped overnight because I wanted to be able to have it for Podcast Answer Man today. And I also knew that I needed an HDMI to HDMI mini cable. So I could have got one at B&H, but I went over and got a really inexpensive one that was 25 foot long on Amazon. So you could just do a search for that. But I think I paid like $8 for that. And I paid $4 to have it shipped overnight because I have Amazon Prime. And then the other thing I needed that this does not come with, it doesn't come with a Thunderbolt cable, which by the way, this device is Thunderbolt only. So you have to have a Mac computer with a Thunderbolt connection, or I guess there might be a PC with a Thunderbolt, but I don't know if this works for PC or not. I know it's a Mac. I know it works with Mac. Let me just put it that way. So, anyway, we'll just stop there. But so I purchased all these devices and I had them shipped, and they all came in. I think, that was yesterday. They all came in yesterday. I ordered them Tuesday, but they came in yesterday. So everything came in, and I didn't have time to put it all together until today. Well, I had the hardest time trying to figure out, what am I going to do? How do I get this video from my camera into this? So I hook it all up, and the first problem I ran into is I put in the CD, and they actually deliver you a DVD or a CD install disc with this instead of like just telling you to go and download the drivers. But anyway, they have all of this different software, and much of it is software that is not even pertaining to the device that I have. And there's no clear instructions that tells you, hey, you have the Intensity Extreme, you want to install this particular software. And so I was kind of at a loss this morning trying to figure out what do I need to install. And it turns out that the one you need to install is actually labeled the Desktop Video App. That's what it's called, Desktop Video App. And I went ahead and installed it from the disk. And one of the things another website told me is like, make sure no matter what you do, get the latest version of the software. And I'm like, okay. So I went to go see if there's something newer. And I went to the blackmagicdesign.com website and went to their support page. And sure enough, they did have a newer version. It was like they actually have a 10.2 2.3 or something like that, which is in beta, but I got the one that's the 10 point something point 2, which is not beta. And so I downloaded that and I installed it. And each time you install the desktop video software, I had to restart the computer. Well, I went to go restart the computer and I still had the Intensity Extreme Thunderbolt plugged in. I had all the USB Griffin iMic plugged in. And for whatever reason, my computer would not restart. It came up with the gray screen with the Apple icon and the little spinny bar thing. And as a result of that, it would just hang there, and it hung there. I let it go for like 10, 15 minutes. And finally, I'm like, okay, I'm going to just turn it off and try it again, try to turn it on again. And it still didn't work. And I did a search on Google, and I said, rebooting stuck, or something like gray screen, or Apple logo and spinning icon. And I just did a search for that. And of course, I found an Apple support page that said, here are all of the things you can try to do. And the first thing it tells you to do is unplug any third-party devices, such as, from the ports. If you have Thunderbolt thing, mini display, anything, unplug all of that. And then turn your computer on and save. And that fixed it. So I think it was probably just the fact that was doing some things and having the Intensity Extreme plugged in while doing that restart was causing the problem. But anyway, I unplugged it, computer booted fine, the software's installed. Then I'm like, what do I do now? And the next thing that I ran into is that, I couldn't get any video from my camera into my computer. I'm going to take a drink here, 1 second. I couldn't get any video from my camera into my computer. So I go up to my son's room and I borrow I borrowed his computer monitor that has an HDMI input. And I basically went from the HDMI mini out of my camera and I took it out of the, Intensity Extreme, and I plugged the HDMI end into this, other monitor. And sure enough, it works perfectly. And the video's there. Now, the next thing that kind of caught me was that it's actually the Canon Vixia is broadcasting everything that's on the screen, on the little screen included on the camera, onto the monitor, but it's also broadcasting all of the display stuff, like all of the icons and and there's just tons of stuff on the screen. I'm like, wait a second, I want a video, I want HDMI live preview out without all that stuff. And I couldn't find the menu and stuff like that. And of course, I didn't have an SD card in there. And it turned out the problem was that I needed to have an SD card in the camera to be able to access the memory of the camera, or the menu system of the camera. So I went and put a SD card in there, and that gave me access to the menu. And I was able to go into the configurations tool, and I was able to go down to the HDMI output, and I was able to tell it to not mirror the on-screen, or to turn off all the on-screen stuff. There's a setting in there somewhere. Anyway, so finally I have this very clean, absolutely gorgeous, beautiful preview of what's coming out of my camera, because my camera is amazing. The HF G10 has I don't even know what it means, but it's the 3C mod sensor chip or whatever. It's got this massive video sensor in it that just makes it perfect in low light situations and everything. It's an amazing camera. And it looks great. And so everything's going fine straight from the camera into the monitor. So I unplug it from the monitor, I plug it back into the Intensity Extreme. And then the Intensity Extreme has an HDMI in, and it also has an HDMI out, so that it passes through. And Michael's in the chat room asking, which one do I have? He's asking Jason. Anyway, the one I have is not the Intensity Pro. I have the Blackmagic Design Intensity Extreme Thunderbolt. That's the device that I have. But anyway, so it has a pass through. So the video should come into it and then go right out and into your monitor. And so, but what happened was, if I go through that, it wasn't sending anything out. And I'm like, oh, no wonder it's not sending anything out. The Thunderbolt cable's unplugged. And see, the Thunderbolt, the Intensity Extreme, is actually operated by the power of the Thunderbolt device. There's no extra AC adapter, which is pretty cool. But I forgot to plug the thing in. I plug it back in, and sure, the power's on, and I'm waiting. instantly that means this video is going to come from the camera. It's going to go into the intensity extreme that's now turned on, and it's going to send it right back out the other HDMI cable into the monitor. It's going to be great, right? Nothing. And the thing is I'm sitting here and I'm watching this video from Ustream. And by the way, the video at Ustream would have saved me so much time and trouble if I just would have watched it from the very first time and watched it all the way through. Finally, instead, what do? I'm one of those guys. I'm following it, and then I get to a place where I'm like, okay, I can take it from here. And if I just would have watched the whole thing, I would have got to the place where it says, if you don't see anything coming in, here's the setting you need to change. And sure enough, and by the way, if you ever get this set up and you need some help walking through how do you set this thing up, go to gspn.tv/blackmagicvideo. All one word. It's gspn.tv/blackmagicvideo. And this is a Ustream video from the Ustream folks showing you how to set this thing up. And sure enough, I had to actually go into one of the sources menu, and then show source options. And I had to go in and change the resolution to match the same resolution that my camera is putting out. And as soon as I did that, it instantly started working inside of Ustream Producer, and at the very same time, it also started to send the signal right out to my monitor. Thus, everything's working fine. I will tell you, I tried to do all of this stuff right before Family from the Heart today, and I was so frustrated. I was just, it was it felt like hitting my head against the wall. And let's just put it this way. Family from the Heart is sitting on my desktop right now. It's episode number 304 of Family from the Heart. And it's probably, I'd say it's one of the worst episodes of Family from the Heart I think we've ever recorded. If not, it's certainly in the top 2 or 3. And it may be the worst episode of Family from the Heart we've ever recorded. I was just not there mentally. We should have just called it off, and I should have been able to play. Anyway, finally, after that, it's just sitting there. I'm begging Stephanie to allow us to re-record Family from the Heart this week. I know it's about authenticity and transparency, but it just was not a good episode. But, we'll see. I've asked Stephanie. She hasn't given me an answer yet if she's willing to re-record or what we should do. But there's a chance that I'll put the original out there if we don't. And if not, hopefully we can re-record. But it was really affecting my mood, all of this technical stuff not working. And, just a lot of other just stresses. But finally, everything's working. And right now, I am broadcasting live with the setup that just looks gorgeous. And it took a lot to figure out how to get all this stuff to work, but now I'm starting to understand. Well, I know how this hardware works. I know all of this stuff. I'm set. I could duplicate this for myself. Now, could I create a tutorial that's going to make it super easy for you to follow step by step? Not yet, because but number one, should I be showing you how to do a live stream? And of course I should, right? But the thing is that I've been live streaming since 2006, but it's still not something that I recommend that most people get into. But there are some of you who will get into. I'll talk a little bit more about my thoughts on live streaming and video in general here in just a moment. But just to say this, I'm finally up and running. That's what it takes sometimes to really get things going. And it's really cool because one of the things that I have the ability to do now, right now, it actually has the Ustream Pro, which by the way, the Ustream Pro, I don't have Ustream Pro. What do I have? I have Ustream Producer. It's the middle one. It's $100. There's the free version. There's a $199 version, and there's like the $499 version. I have the $200 version of Ustream Producer software. I have the $300 Intensity Extreme, the cables and all that other stuff. I have the $1,500. It was actually a $2,000 camera, I think, when I first bought it. That's over there, and all of this stuff, and I have the lighting in the studio just right, and it looks amazing. It really does take things to a whole new level. And I also have the ability now within Ustream, and I have the ability to switch between my, matter of fact, I can do this for the folks who are, and I think I can do this without breaking anything. I can actually switch to, let's see here, that's my Logitech. So I can switch to my Logitech, which people get to see my gut that I'm working off. So I can switch over to the Logitech, the Logitech USB camera. And live, I can switch over to my FaceTime camera, which is in my laptop. And from what I understand, I should be able to put a USB hub on here because I only have 2 USB ports. And right now, one of them is the Logitech webcam. It's the C910 that I have, but I would recommend the C920 since the C910 isn't made anymore. And so I have the iMic and one Logitech camera. I think that I can unplug the Logitech camera, put a USB hub on there, and I should be able to do multiple USB Logitech cameras. And that's what I plan on using for like secondary shots. And I can do transparent lower thirds. Right now I've got my Podcast Answer Man logo up at the top left-hand corner of my video. If I want to, I can remove that logo. I can put it back on. I can switch all kinds of things. And by the way, if you guys want to see this, and here it goes, I'll talk about this again. If you want to see this, go to podcastanswerman.com/podcastanswerman.com/365. Again, that's podcastanswerman.com/365. And if you do that, that's the show notes for this episode. And provided Ustream producer is recording this video well, and everything, I will upload this to my YouTube channel, and the video recording of me broadcasting this live will be there. And I don't know where we're at in that recording as far as the time is concerned. Maybe it is at 35:17. So is where we're at now. So go back to like 32 minutes into the video, and you should be able to see all the camera switching that I just did and some of the other things that I just did. And Magnus says he thinks the logo should be smaller. That's fine. I'll work around and play with all of that stuff. Obviously I just got this thing set up right before I went live. But, I'll work out all the details on this, but this is some of the things that I'm doing to kind of take it to the next level for those who are watching live. And yes, I am continuing to get a lot of great feedback from the YouTube audience. And by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, hello to you on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do like the video and leave me a comment if you like the content here. What that does is it says to me that, hey, Cliff, this was worth the investment for you to do it here and produce this great video on, the better, taking the video content to the next level. And it reminds me to not ignore those who actually do prefer the video. And I know that there are a few of you who really do enjoy the video. So, so that's where it's at. Taking my video streaming to the next level. Those are some of the things that I had to do. Well, I didn't have to get the intensity extreme, and I didn't have to hook up my Canon Vixia, but those are the things I desired to do. And now that I have all of this, I'm really looking forward to not only getting better at myself, I'm going to create a lot more transparent overlays and stuff like that. And I'm going to play around eventually with multiple camera shoots, multiple cameras, and all of these different things. And when I do get it all figured out, I'm going to have my son come down and I'm going to teach him and train him on how to do the camera switching and things like that. And, before too long, my son will be down here and he's going to be getting paid to do a lot of stuff for us. And by the way, I plan on having something in the future that is a little bit more made for video content. So that's going to lead me into my my thoughts here. By the way, I'm going to look at Jason's comment in the chat room, and I'll read this, and I think it's a perfect transition into my thoughts on video, both live streaming and video content in general. This is what Jason is writing. These are not my words, but here's what Jason writes. He says, I like video live, don't really watch video after the fact. One thing I like about live video is that it's live. Recorded video is something I find myself being less attentive. Jason, valid point, very valid point. And so that's why I want to first share my thoughts on live streaming for podcasters. First and foremost, if you have not been podcasting for a minimum of 6 months, I would recommend highly that you do not live stream your podcast, audio or video. For the first 6 months, I would highly encourage you to only focus on your audio audience that are listening to the pre-recorded content that you are creating in your studio without the distractions that come with the technology related to the live stream. And let me tell you something. I don't think that Family from the Heart, the episode that got recorded this morning, will eventually go out. But if it does, the title of the episode will be You Can Skip This One. So if you go to familyfromtheheart.com and episode number 304 is titled You Can Skip This One, listen to that episode. And that episode is a perfect example of why you should not record or should not live stream while you're recording a podcast, because it can be devastatingly distracting and ruin your content if things go wrong. And by the way, what you would hear in that episode, if it makes it online, what you would hear is somebody who has experience of doing thousands of live streams. All right. So if even after thousands of live streams, it still bugged me that much. And it doesn't matter. You're always going to bring in a lot of technical potential glitches and issues. And so, so that's exactly what I would say is stay away from it for 6 months and focus just on creating a great show, great content. And also the other problem with video live streaming right out of the gate is, the audience that you're speaking to. Now, right now in my chat room, I see there are 39 people on this page, and they're chatting right there. And so, for example, it says, Jason says, we only live stream live sporting events, not our actual podcast. John says, I agree with Jason. Live video takes away from the control you have to ignore the content. Anyway, I respect Jason. This is Timothy. I respect Jason's opinion. For me, I am less distracted and enjoy Cliff on the big screen when I have time to watch in the evening. Jason says, I listen/watch Cliff live because I work from home and can do it while my daughter eats lunch and gets ready for a nap. Jason says, when I miss it live, I just wait for the podcast audio and I listen while I'm cutting the grass or on a drive. Michael says, same here, Jason. And these people are chatting back and forth. That's about 40 people now in the chat room. And, and it's awesome to have them here. And after doing more than 3,200 podcast episodes, I'm pretty good at making sure that Podcast Answer Man is not focused on the 40 people who are in the chat room to such a degree that you who are listening to my voice in the car or out mowing the lawn or walking the dog or just out for a walk, getting your 10,000 steps in today for your Fitbit challenge or whatever the case may be, whatever you're doing, I'm pretty good at being able to sometimes incorporate the chat room without making you feel like a second-class citizen. And that's something I'm going to talk about in video in general, and it is something called the second-class citizen syndrome. It is the second-class citizen syndrome. And by the way, I came up with that terminology myself. But you can use it when you're talking to people about it as well. But what I mean by that is, and this is what happened back in the day, back in 2006, a lot of us were really heavily using live broadcasting via audio on this service called TalkShoe. And by the way, TalkShoe.com still exists today. You can go there, TalkShoe.com. It's free. You can create a TalkCast, get your TalkCast ID, and you can schedule a live show and invite people to come, and you all can be talking via audio, and you could actually be recording your show there. You can record your audio locally and broadcast it there if you have a connection to their audio via a phone bridge or something like that. Anyway, so TalkShoe was a show where a lot of people went and created content, and what I found is whenever there were brand new content creators, brand new podcasters who started out live streaming from the beginning, this is what I found. And I'm going to mimic it. All right. I'm going to pretend that that's what's going on here. Hey, everybody. Welcome to my podcast here where we're talking about all things podcasting. And, oh, you know what? Looks like somebody just came into the chat room. Hello, guest 5432. Glad to have you here. You know what? Hold on. I see that guest 5132 would like to ask a question. Let me go ahead and unmute them. And yeah, is this thing live? What do you talk about here? Well, this is a podcast about podcasting. Oh, all right. So you're in your living room, or are you in a radio station? And it's just the craziest thing. And what happened was so much focus and so much attention went to the people who were calling in live. So much attention went into to the discussion of the people who were there, that anybody who wanted to listen to the content that's been pre-recorded, it's all about the live audience and not necessarily something that was created. Basically, you don't feel as much a part of the community that was in this content producers community as the people who are there live. The live people get preference. Now, here's the deal. When it's a real struggle for somebody like me. I am a recovering people pleaser. And I will tell you, it's hard for me to have 38 people, 40 people bouncing up and down here in the chat room and having this conversation. And the thing is I ignore about 95%, maybe sometimes 98%, and sometimes 100% of the conversation that's actually happening while I'm recording Podcast Answer Man. Now, I will tell you that I go through and I go before the episode, I try to have some conversation with them and interact with them live. After the show is over, I sometimes will take the time and go through and scroll up and try to read all of that conversation after the fact and have some wonderful one-on-one time with the people who were there. But for the Podcast Answer Man show, I try to not let this podcast get too focused on the live audience, and only sometimes do I occasionally bring out a comment, especially when the comment is something that's very helpful. Like back when I was talking about the multiple ways that you could get podcast reviews for your podcast, and we had one listener who was telling us, "Oh, did you know you could do this RSS feed?" And that was wonderful and stuff like that. But it takes a little bit of time for you to get to that place where the content is really focused on the people who, where your conversation is between you as the host speaking to the person who's listening to the downloaded episode later. So there's the possible technical difficulties, and there's also the fact that your show can be too much focused on the live audience and sometimes too much directed by the live audience, and the distraction of both the technology and the potential distraction of I will tell you, there are times in Podcast Answer Man where I say something that I feel so strongly, passionately about that is let's just say a controversial topic in the space, and I will share what I feel, and sometimes I'll glance at the chat room and I see that somebody's in there spouting off how they disagree with me and how vehemently they disagree with me, and I can tell you right now that even after years of podcasting, that can be distracting, and it really can derail your podcasting content that you're creating for your audience. So yeah, right now at this very moment, 42 people on the page, but I can tell you right now, thousands and thousands of people who are listening to this after the fact. So just keep that in mind. So what do I think about live stream? I love live streams. I do. I will tell you this, the 42 people or 40 some odd people that are in this page right now watching on Thursday, this is Thursday, July 10th at 2:46 p.m. Eastern time at podcastanswerman.com/live. These people are, they actually have a deeper connection with me as a host. They have a deeper connection with each other as they're actually meeting each other. These are people who all of a sudden, I wonder if, Magnus and Jason and Michael and Matt and all these other people in here, they're having conversations with each other. They're all listeners of Podcast Answer Man. They all are connected to me on social media, and they're all passionate, obviously, about podcasting and getting your message, taking your message, your business, and your life to the next level. And that's why they tune into my content. And now all of a sudden they're meeting each other, sometimes for the very first time, in a chat room and developing relationships that all of a sudden after the show is over, every Thursday, there are people within the chat room who are adding other people to their social networks and developing relationships. And sometimes those relationships turn into some pretty powerful things. I've seen people in my community who had actually gotten married as a result of meeting each other through live streaming. So yeah, in a chat room of one of my live streams. And then they came to a meetup that I held face to face, and before I know it, they're married. It was pretty wild. But anyway, so I do love live streaming. I wish anybody and everyone would wait a minimum of 6 months. Establish the fact that your podcast is created for the people who will download it later or stream it later. Establish that the conversation between you and your audience is between you and your audience that will listen later. Establish that you determine what is going to be talked about and what's not going to be talked about by doing pre-show preparation and not allowing the live audience to dictate or distract you from what you have prepared. These are the things that I think about live streaming. So now, what do I think about the technology of live streaming? Boy, there's too much to be said there, and I'm not going to go into all of the details. I already shared with you just my own little situation that I've done over the last 7 days, and it's all different from things that I've done over the last couple years, and it's always kind of in flux and changing. So, but I do love live streaming, and if you've been podcasting for more than 6 months and you're extremely competent and confident with the technology related to doing your podcast without the live audience, and you feel like, you know what, if I add the live show component and it all falls apart, I'll still be able to just ignore that and move on with my show as planned, so it does not impact the regular audience. Then at that point, yeah, do a live stream. It's great for building community. It's great for taking relationships to even a much deeper level with those who are able to join live. And by the way, that's the thing. Not everybody's able to join live. And you don't want people to feel like second-class citizens. And that's where, my friends, we're going to talk about more of my thoughts on video content in general. Now, here's the thing. One of the things that I feel about video is that I believe that if you're going to create video, most of the time, I believe that video should be created for the purpose of, it should be content created for that video. Now, is what I'm doing right now on YouTube by recording the live stream, obviously the live stream video, even before I was recording it and uploading it, I've been live streaming since 2006. So, I do believe that the content that I'm creating when I'm live streaming, even if it's over my shoulder, this is created for video. It is content. It is video content made for video content. It's not a way for me to rebroadcast my Podcast Answer Man show, although I am starting to do that. I'll get into that a little bit more probably. But yeah, so what happens here is that, I've got 10 minutes left. How can I wrap this up real fast and get to those questions that I told you I was going to get to. Let's do this. How about I say this? Video thoughts are, number one, I believe that you should create video content. And the content that I'm creating now is a behind the scenes look into what it's like for me to produce a show. And so it does give you that behind the scene glimpse. That's what the live show, that's what the live video has all been about and stuff like that. And so for the people who are really geeky trying to see, man, how does he do all of that? So just seeing it happen is compelling enough video that makes it sense for it to actually be video content. Now, and you know, the thing is Leo Laporte has been doing video content for years. And the other thing that I will tell you about video is it requires screen time. Now, you can argue that, no, you can subscribe to the video and just listen to the audio. Or you could actually record video and just strip the audio, or record the audio separately in high quality and put it out as an audio podcast. And those who want the video can do the video podcast. Michael Hyatt is doing this right now. Leo Laporte does this. Well, let me explain to you. Video, if you're going to have video and you're going to watch video, it does require screen time, which means I'm not going to be able to do it while I'm driving. Or some of you, I know you do that, but you shouldn't. I know I should on you, but that's one thing. Come on, seriously. But anyway, it's not something I'm going to do when I'm out walking in the sun. It's just not convenient to watch video in those things. And yes, I could try to listen to the audio. I used to listen to 5 different podcasts from Leo Laporte, and I listened to every episode and never missed any of them. However, when he went to video, when he moved into the brick house and spent all this money to upgrade to all this video stuff, I found myself actually getting more and more frustrated every single week with the content. And the reason why is because I was still subscribed to the audio, listening to it while I was driving, listening to it while I was walking. Whatever the case was, I was listening to it. And what happens is he got into an issue where he created the second-class citizen syndrome. And this is where you start saying things like, for those of you who are only listening to the audio, you really should check out the video, because what I'm showing on the screen right now is so extremely vital. And I kind of did that when I was doing the switching here today. I kind of fell into it today, saying, hey, just go to podcastanswerman.com forward 32 minutes in and kind of watch and you can see what I'm talking about. It's that kind of thing. Although, hopefully you don't feel like that, because I am demonstrating it here, but it happens so much, and so much in This Week in Tech and Leo Laporte, that they have an over-the-head camera when they're showing off applications and all of these other things. And so more and more of their content today is actually content created for video, and they just happen to have the audio available. Whereas right now, and this is what Michael Hyatt is doing. I will mention Michael and his new format, because his 101st episode is now relaunched. This Is Your Life as Season 1, Episode 1. I love what he's doing with seasons. We'll talk about that maybe in the future. But anyway, his Season 1, Episode 1, his new relaunch of his show, he has both the audio version and the video version, and it's recorded in a professional studio. They're capturing professional audio. The audio sounds amazing. And what Leo started out with is what Michael is doing right now: audio or content that is created for audio consumption, but where video is also available. High quality video, multi-camera shoot video that's worth looking at. But what Leo started out with and what Michael is now starting with is content created for the audio audience, but which also has video available if you just want to take a look at it. That's what I have right now with Podcast Answerman. Podcast Answerman is content created for audio, but it also has the video available if you want to look at it. That's exactly what I have. Now, Leo no longer has content created for audio, but also has the video available. No, Leo today, very clearly, in every single one of his podcasts, even his radio show, I think. Maybe that one's going a little too far, but certainly This Week in Tech, This Week in Google, iPad Today, this Mac Break Weekly, all of those different shows, that is now, all of them are video content created for the video audience so that we can show you all of these things, which, by the way, is great. I love that. I love seeing the screen captures of these apps. I love seeing them demonstrate things. I love seeing this stuff. I love seeing the people. I do. But what this is content created for video, where they also happen to make the audio only version available. And I will tell you, with Leo Laporte, his audio only version is absolutely, it's 80% of it is worthwhile. The other 20%, if you don't have the video, you are just missing out. You are a second-class citizen of the content of the community that consumes that content. You're not getting the full benefit of what's being offered because it is video content created for audio. Content created for video with just audio as an option for you to listen only if you want. So now here's the thing. I believe that I watched the video of Michael Hyatt's first episode with his new co-host, Michelle Cashat. And Michelle, I love her too. And I think I think they have done something amazing with their show. I am so eager to listen to each of their episodes. And right now, my plan is to actually stay subscribed to the audio only version because and by the way, season 1, episode 1 of the new revised version of This Is Your Life was perfect content created for audio, where there was not one thing that was required for you to actually see. Now, I think that they actually may have mentioned that there was video and stuff like that, but I believe that I could have listened to the audio version of that file and not felt like I missed anything. The real danger, however, is I think there's a danger that show could turn into, not that it will, but it could, within the first 15 episodes somewhere, steer towards content created for video where the audio audience is second in priority. I don't know that will happen. And Michael, I love you and I love your show. And and there's nothing wrong with creating video content for video content or content for video. But just not just for Michael, but for myself, I'm reminding myself of this. And I'm reminding everyone who's listening that when you create content for video, it is less accessible to the overall audience that would consume your audio if it was audio only. So, for example, I used to be subscribed to 5 different podcasts from Leo Laporte. I only have so much screen time available. And by the way, a lot of my screen time, I prefer really professional highly entertaining movies or TV shows or something like that. I don't get a ton of screen time. And when I do, I want to sit back and be entertained, or I want to learn something that, and stuff like that. But, This Week in Tech, I like it. Mac Break Weekly, I like it. I don't ever want to miss those shows. But what I did is I subscribed to the video of those shows. I actually have the ability to play just the audio of the video with my iPhone. By the way, I use the Podcasts app from Apple. And with that, I'm able to click play on the video, and then you can hit the home button, and yes, the video will stop, and the audio will stop, unfortunately. But then you just swipe up and hit the play button again, and it will actually pick up the audio only without the video playing, and you can listen to it while you're swiping and reading stories from an RSS feed and stuff like that. But I always have to stay subscribed to the video because several times every episode of Mac Break Weekly and This Week in Tech, I have to click on the podcast app and bring the video back up and back it up 15 or 30 seconds so that I can actually see what they're showing to get the full benefit of their content. I'm not saying that I hate that. I'm not saying I'm against that. But what I will tell you is that I unsubscribed from 3 podcasts from the Twit network because I can't consume that much video. And so it was easier for me to unsubscribe than to get behind. And that's what I did. And I picked up some other shows in its place, some other audio-only podcasts. So that's what I wanted to share. That's my thoughts on live streaming. That's my thoughts on video in general. And this is a whole episode devoted to video. And I told you at the beginning of the show that I was going to talk to Stephanie about how to grow my audience. You know what? It's an hour. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put those things off till next week. That's what I'm going to do. I hate that. Yes, I do. I hate that. But I'm going to. No, you know what? Here's the deal. Let's get through them real quick. I promise you. I am going to run through in 15 minutes. Let's do this. Stephanie, let's go for it now.
Hey, Cliff. It's Stephanie O'Brien with movedbypurpose.net. I started my podcast in February 2014, and I absolutely love it. It is so much fun that I realized that writing is a drag compared to my podcast. There are a lot of recommendations out there to grow your list and your audience through guest posting. But since I'm not the greatest writer and it's not that big of a passion of mine, I have avoided this strategy. Now, I have interviewed some pretty established entrepreneurs on my podcast, such as John Lee Dumas, Danny Inney, and Dan Miller, to name a few. But I have noticed that the traffic increases with this. Social proof and credibility seems to be more easily established. Plus, I start a relationship with the leaders in this industry. All really great things that I love to celebrate. But my question is, and this is the one thing that isn't growing from this strategy, is my list. My list is painfully growing at painstakingly slow numbers. And I am wondering what I can do and how else I can use my podcast to grow my list. I plan to change my giveaway and to make my landing page a little bit stronger and more effective. But after that, I was wondering if you have specific strategies on how I can use the podcast to grow my list. Thank you so much for all that you do.
All right, Stephanie, thank you so much. I am looking back to see if I can find the episode number. I think it might have been 354, but I'm looking. 355. Yes, go. I want you to listen to episode number, let's see here, episode number 355 of Podcast Answer Man. You can find it at podcastanswerman.com/355. It's titled Why You Should Not Start a Podcast. My thoughts regarding Spencer Hawes' blog post on this topic. Everything that immediately comes to my mind that I said in episode number 355, which, by the way, that's a very long episode, but it really talks to you about your expectations of what you can get from as far as engagement in calls to action and stuff like that. All of my thoughts related to getting people just to respond to you in general from your podcast and to do something that you ask them to do in your show. Overall, my thoughts are there. podcastanswerman.com/355. Now, with that being said, it's not like you're never going to be able to get somebody in your podcast to do something for you. As you build a relationship where people in your audience come to know, like, and trust you, and your influence grows, the more that they come to know, like, and trust you, then the more influence you have, the more chances you are to actually have your audience respond, to actually do something that you might ask them to do for you. And so that takes time. And by the way, I did respond to Stephanie's email. This all started out as an email question. And one of the things that I wrote back and I asked real quickly, and this is why I asked it, I said, how long ago did you start your podcast? And she said she started back in February of 2014. That's this year. So she's been podcasting. I'm recording this on July 10th, and she started back in February. That is not enough time to really start seeing a lot of engagement and response to your calls to action. It's just not reasonable to expect your list to start growing based upon that. It's going to take you a little bit more time. So just know that first and foremost. Listen to everything I shared in episode 355. All of that stuff applies to you. But here's what I will say. I want to give you my top 3 things that I will give you for getting people to sign up for your mailing list. Number 1, create such amazing content on a consistent basis that people will strongly desire to get anything and everything that you make available to them. Seriously, wow people. Don't bribe them. I mean, we'll talk about bribing them. That comes a part of number 2. But without even asking, without even bribing them, without trying to give them something, just create amazing content that is so helpful, that is so valuable, and really super serve your audience and create a relationship with them. And people come to the fact where they absolutely unequivocally love you, and your content is so amazing that they can't imagine not being able to consume anything and everything that you put out. Become that salty, that you create an unquenchable thirst in the audience that you serve, that they want anything and everything that you give. And you won't even have to give anything away for free. You just say, hey, if you want to be notified of the next thing that I have available, or the next thing I want to share, some content that's probably easier for me to share in an email than it is in my podcast to you. If you want frequent updates related, just go over to my site over at podcastanswerman.com/list and sign up. Which, by the way, if that's what you want, go to podcastanswerman.com/list. Although, read the warning. It says, my mailing list actually says, sign up for this list if you want to be notified of the next time I have a new product or service available for purchase. So if you are expecting anything more than that, then that's not necessarily the way I do my mailing list. But anyway, let's see here. So that's the number 1 tip. Create content that is so amazing that people desperately want more for you or from you. And you're gonna see that increase. And again, they have to come to know, like, and trust you, and that has to build over time. Number 2, give away some free content. I do not do this, and I'm not necessarily saying that you're bribing them, but you're kind of bribing them, aren't you? You're incentivizing them to do something by giving them something in return for exchange of their email address, right? So that you can plop an email into their inbox every now and then. So it's not a bad thing. This lots of people, some of my best friends do this. Anyway, you can go to, Michael Hyatt does this with one of his Get Published. So he's got several things that you can sign up and get free if you sign up for his mailing list. Pat Flynn has several things. ebooksthesmartway.com is one of them. Anyway, you can give away a free ebook, a report, a tutorial, all kinds of stuff. I'll be, one of the things that I want to do later this year is actually get a little bit more serious about my mailing list, and maybe even creating a little bit more content for the people who are subscribed to my mailing list and stuff. So you can give away something for free, and make that something that's so compelling to your audience that they're like, I can't imagine living without that. Heck yeah, I'm going over to suchandsuch.com/list or whatever URL you give them. Make it super easy for them to type it in and get it instantly. Consider a free giveaway. A third thing is host a free webinar and collect emails upon registration. So basically, there are some plugins that you can use out there. I used to have one. Actually, I still have it. It's called Webinar Bridge. I don't know if it still works. I haven't used it in a long time. But I did a free tutorial called Learn How to Podcast. And when I did that, I had hundreds of people register for my mailing or for that webinar. And I used Webinar Bridge. And what happened was Webinar Bridge was the landing page for the webinar, and people would register for the webinar. And what they were doing is they're signing up for the mailing list. And once they actually clicked the confirmation email in their email inbox and confirmed to be added to my list, then they were registered via GoToMeeting to the actual webinar that I did. So you can host a free webinar or, free product or free service. It's the whole same thing, but it's more than just a giveaway. This is a free, live, interactive experience that people can come and be a part of. But those are the top 3 things that I can think of to give you to do that. Let's go on with the next one. Ryan, take it away. This is Ryan Gray.
Hey, Cliff. My name is Ryan Gray. I'm the host of the Medical School HQ podcast and run the website medicalschoolhq.net. I have a question about podcast episode names, and if you've ever changed an episode name to see if that would get more interest and more downloads for a particular episode, or if that's just a big no-no. Thank you for everything you do. I look forward to your answer.
Ryan, I've never done it. to like after the fact. There's no reason for you not to do it. And I will tell you that your episode name, especially the first several words in your episode title, are extremely important, because what people search for in iTunes when they're searching for a phrase like internet marketing or whatever the case may be, whatever they type in the search box, it's first going to look at the title of the show, and the next thing it's going to look at is the title of the episode. And your show has a good chance of pulling up if the right keyword match is there. So go ahead and play around with it. And again, it's no problem at all for you to change it. It's not a no-no or anything of that nature. So feel free to play around with those episode titles and stuff like that. But yeah, there you go. Ryan Parker is next.
Hey, Cliff, this is Ryan Parker from ryankparker.com, and I podcast all about killer food. Later this month, I'm heading off to a trade show for the very first time, and I'm interested to find out what you would take along for your recording equipment. I'd like to travel light, and I'm getting a new Zoom H4n, so it's going to be my first real practice with it. But would you take along a microphone to go with it? Or just, hey, take the recorder and run? Let me know what you think. Take care.
All right, Ryan, I go to a lot of conferences, and I take my digital audio recorder with me, I think, to practically every single one of them. And I do a lot of interviews when I'm out. And sometimes I record those at coffee shops or right in the conference hall or wherever I may be. But and by the way, I used to take an Electro Voice RE50B microphone. It is an industry standard interview microphone. Again, that's the Electro Voice RE50B. And now I have the Roland RO5. I would use the cable that has an XLR female that plugs into the bottom of the mic. And the other end of that would have a 1/8 inch or 3.5 millimeter stereo mini plug, and I would plug that into the mic port on my Roland recorder, and it would actually have this really great interview sound. I went back and forth between me and the other person, and I did that a couple times. I even had a mic flag on there. It looks a little bit professional, so if you want to go with that, you can. But I will tell you that even that sometimes was just a little bit more than I wanted to carry around for the day. I could stick my Roland recorder in my pocket, and I'm at the place now where I never take the Electro Voice RE50B microphone to a conference with me. I simply take my recorder and that's it. And the onboard microphones, you have a Zoom H4n, I think you said, and it's got amazing microphones on it. And you know what? Sure, it's going to pick up all the ambient sound and stuff like that. And I recommend that you don't go into a quiet room where it's going to record all the echo, but actually stay in the hall where you can hear people in the background and stuff like that. Makes people feel like they're standing there right with you guys at the conference, and can add a little bit of an extra feel and vibe to the interview. So anyway, Ryan, if you ask me, I go to conferences all the time, and I don't take anything more than my Roland recorder or digital audio recorder. Any kind that you want to take is perfectly fine. Just stay away from voice recorders. There's little cheap ones that you get at Staples. Make sure you get something like the Roland RO5 or a Zoom H4n. I think they have a new Zoom H6. They have a bunch of other devices out there, but my own preferred one is a Roland RO5 because I have two of the Zoom H4ns here in my studio. And they're in boxes, and I used one for a little while, and I used to take it out I took it out a couple times for my walkcasts, and that thing's heavy and bulky and stuff like that, and it doesn't fit in my pocket like my Roland RO5. So I prefer my Roland RO5, but certainly, Ryan, you already have the Zoom Zoom H4n. It's going to be perfectly fine for you, and I'd just take that personally. But by the way, if you decide to get the Roland if you decide to get the Electro Voice RE50B, know that you can just get a standard XLR mic because, well, it has XLR inputs. So there you go. That's Ryan. And then Michael's got the last question. Let's get this one through here. One more.
Hey, Cliff. This is a question for the podcast answer man. This is Michael Bohm with Youth Apologetics Training. I have a podcast teaching Christian apologetics to youth, and my question is concerning the audio quality. Right now I'm recording my podcast on a BlackBerry with some headphones, and as you can tell, it doesn't sound very good. Now, I have just reached my 100th episode, and it's time for me to stop doing these ghetto podcasts and get some better equipment. I'm sure you've covered this in older podcasts, but I'm looking for something that I can use to record on the go. I'm a busy guy. I have a full-time job, and I don't have a whole lot of money, so I'm looking for something that I can record while staying mobile. A lot of times I record my podcast while I'm on lunch break out in my work truck. And I need something mobile, low cost, but still sounds good. What do you think, Cliff? I respect you, and I know you got some good answers on this, so let's have it. Thanks, buddy.
All right, Michael, just so you know, congratulations. I'm very excited to hear that you've produced already 100 episodes. Wonderful job, my friend. And the fact that you've done them all on a BlackBerry, and if they sound like what you just sent in, the audio quality is about a 6 out of 10, but it's still pretty darn good. So it's not bad. That is perfectly acceptable. But yes, you could take your audio to the next level. And if you are on a very tight budget, and that's what I heard you say, then mobile setup is just take your laptop with you. I'm sure you can have enough battery power in your truck to record a 30-minute or 60-minute show. And I would just to keep things safe and cheap, I would just do a Audio-Technica ATR 2100 microphone, plug it right in via USB into your laptop, and that's going to give you a really good audio quality sound. You'll jump from a 6 to an 8 or 9 immediately just by doing that. Record into software like Audacity, or if you're going for cheap, then go for Audacity. It's free. And that's really going to take your audio to the next level. But congratulations, and hopefully that helps you out. Hey, I normally would play music, but man, I'm already an hour and 16 minutes into this episode. Real quickly, I just want to say I have my podcasting A to Z course coming up here. Monday, September 1st is its launch. If you want to sign up, we've got people signing up already. If you want to get into that course, please get in soon, because I have a feeling it's going to sell out, because I'm taking 2 months off, July and August, with no A to Z. And the last time I did that, it was a sold out crowd. So anyway, podcasting A to Z, if you want to take your podcasting to the next level, or if you want to get your podcast started, head over to podcastingatoz.com. God bless. I'll be back again next week with a hopefully much shorter show.
Podcast Answer Man.